Good afternoon. It's Thursday, January 5th. I'm Ariel Sullivan, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to be questioned under caution again later this evening by police from the Lahav 433 unit at his Jerusalem residence. This will be the second time this week that the Prime Minister will be grilled in connection with the ongoing graft investigation against him. Other suspects, including officials close to the Prime Minister, are slated for questioning in the coming days. On Monday night, police questioned Netanyahu for 3 hours over suspicions that he received expensive gifts from two businessmen and did not notify the authorities. In response to the new police probe, Netanyahu said police will find nothing because there is nothing. Earlier this week, Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit issued a statement saying it appeared there was sufficient evidence that justified questioning the Prime Minister under caution. Joint List MK Basel Ghatas arrived at the Rishon LeZion Magistrates Court this afternoon for his extension of his remand. Earlier today, Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit approved filing indictment against the Arab lawmaker who is accused of smuggling cell phones and SIM cards to Palestinian security prisoners incarcerated in the Ketziot prison in the south. Ghatas will be charged with smuggling documents without receiving permission from the prison authorities, smuggling in communication devices, and use of property for the purpose of terrorism. He is also accused of breach of trust by a public official and fraudulently obtaining benefits under aggravated circumstances. Ghatas was placed under house arrest and suspended from participating in Knesset activities after he was stripped of his immunity and arrested. Last week, Asad Daka, Ghatas's handler and the brother of one of the security prisoners incarcerated in the jail, was charged in court for committing illegal activities. Turning now to yesterday's verdict in the Elor Al-Zaria case, which is continuing to cause much controversy and division. Police have arrested two Israelis who called for attacks on the three judges who convicted Al-Zaria of manslaughter. A 50-year-old man from Jerusalem was detained for inciting to violence against the head of the military tribunal, Colonel Maya Heller, whom he said will not live to the end of this year. Another 22-year-old woman from Kiryat Gat was also detained after she posted on social network pages calling to attack the judges, including urging grenade attacks on Heller and afterwards scattering her body parts so that they be eaten by dogs. Both were released to house arrest with restrictions and have agreed not to post anything on the social media for 30 days. The latest incidents came as the Army assigned a security detail to the three military court judges, as well as the military prosecutor. Police are continuing to closely monitor social media, which has since the verdict been flooded with harsh racial slurs against the judges. Responding to the developments, Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit issued a statement saying the Israeli law enforcement system, including the military justice, fulfills its role independently, impartially, and stressing respect for the state legal system and judicial decisions is a fundamental rock of Israeli democracy. Hours after the military court convicted IDF soldier Elor Al-Zaria of manslaughter, Prime Minister Netanyahu issued a personal reaction. In a post on his Facebook page, Netanyahu wrote, "It is a difficult and painful day." The Prime Minister urged members of the public to act responsibly toward the army as well as the Chief of Staff, saying the country's soldiers must remain above all conflict. At the end of his statement, Netanyahu wrote that he supports pardoning the 19-year-old soldier who was convicted of shooting an incapacitated terrorist who minutes earlier stabbed two soldiers in Hebron in March last year. Many supporters of Elor Al-Zaria are also lashing out at the government for not backing Al-Zaria's actions right from the start, placing much blame for his conviction on the defense ministry.
He's innocent, he's a hero, he has to get a prize from the army. But the minute the Chief of Staff and the Minister of Defense were against him, they elect the judges, they tell the judges what to decide, and he didn't have any hope.
I think it's a scandal that the country don't protect about their soldiers. I think that this soldier came to protect about little children, about families, about parents. This guy came to do an attack, to hurt about these families. This soldier is a hero.
For its part, the family of Elor Al-Zaria this morning issued a statement saying they disapprove and condemn all violence, stressing that they are not responsible for the public outrage and actions in response to the conviction of their son. The family said they will decide what steps to take in the coming days, adding they intend to appeal Elor's conviction at the Military Court of Appeals. Police suspect that Tuesday's fatal shooting and attempted murder in Haifa were of nationalistic nature. At noon today, hundreds attended the funeral of 48-year-old Guy Kafri from the city of Nesher, who was shot to death in one of the shooting incidents. And in their eulogies, family members stressed Kafri was not involved in any wrongdoing and was shot just because he was Jewish. A court-issued gag order has been imposed on the investigation. The search for the perpetrator, whose identity is known to the police, continues in the city's Halisa neighborhood. Initially, police thought the victims were both members of the city's religious services, and reports said that they had been shot by a woman. Police later suspected that the shootings were criminally motivated, but now they believe they were also acts of terror. In Beersheba today, police arrested a Bedouin man in his 20s after he allegedly snatched a weapon from a security guard in what police are treating as a nationalistic motivated attack, but may not have ruled out a criminal motivation. The suspect allegedly jumped on a off-duty security guard as he was checking a mailbox, snatched his weapon, and injured him lightly before fleeing the scene. A large police presence was deployed in the city to search for the perpetrator, who half an hour later was arrested with the guard's weapon and blood on his clothing. The family of IDF soldier Oron Shaul, who was killed in the 2014 war with Gaza and whose body is being held by Hamas, today marked the birthday of their son, who was supposed to turn 23. The event was attended by dozens of friends and activists who support the family in their plight to return Shaul's body back to Israel. Speaking at the emotional ceremony, Shaul's mother, Zahava, broke out in tears, promising her son that she will bring him back home. Zahava Shaul criticized the government's handling of the affair and lashed out at the chief military rabbi, who determined that her son died in what she said was against Jewish halachic procedures. Last Saturday, Hamas released mock videos of Oron Shaul celebrating his birthday in an attempt to pressure the Israeli government to negotiate over the bodies of Shaul and IDF Hadar soldier Hadar Golden, whose body was also held by Hamas. In other news, visiting former Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee is optimistic that Israel can rely on strong support from the incoming Washington administration under the leadership of President-elect Donald Trump. Huckabee, a close advisor to Trump, arrived in the country earlier this week as part of a delegation representing the U.S. Chambers of Commerce. He spoke with Israel's television Yaakov Achimeir.
People of Israel should breathe a deep sigh of relief that they truly have a new administration that has great respect for this nation, its people, its government, and its future.
Why should the Israeli rely or trust the various promises of Mr. Trump?
Well, first of all, there's a genuine feeling among the Trump higher echelon that Israel is our ally. It's our friend. We treat our friends like friends, not enemies. The Obama administration has spent 6 years treating our friends like enemies and our enemies like friends. We made deals with the Iranians, the largest sponsor of terrorism in the world. We relaxed relationships with Cuba, even as they were jailing journalists and imprisoning people for political speech. We gave money to the Iranians, which was absurd. We stopped the sanctions, which did nothing to stop their oppression of their own people and their sponsorship of terrorism through Hezbollah and Hamas, and frankly throughout the planet. So for all of those reasons, I think you're going to see in the Trump administration a principled administration that says Americans will act in the best interest of America and in the best interest of our true friends and our true allies, of which Israel is one.
The full interview with Mike Huckabee can be seen on Israel's television's Roim Olam program Saturday night at 9 p.m. Police have arrested 10 people suspected of smuggling amphetamine drugs worth millions of shekels into Israel. The psychoactive drugs, most commonly known as speed, were stashed inside nearly a dozen plush toys that were apparently shipped from the U.S. via direct mail. The suspects, all in their 30s from the Tel Aviv and Hod HaSharon area, will be brought to the Tel Aviv Magistrates Court later today for an extension of their remand. According to the police, one of the men worked at a shipping and delivery company. He received the packages and transferred them to other members of the drug network who allegedly distributed and sold the drugs to members of the Filipino community in Israel. Could the discovery of a menorah carved into the walls of a cave in the Judean foothills be based on the 7-branch menorah that was once placed in the Second Temple? Well, that's the question the archaeologists are asking after 3 hikers wiggled their way into a cave several days ago and discovered the Jewish images carved alongside images of crosses in the wall of the ancient cistern. The 7-branch menorah also had a base with 3 feet, just like the one believed to have been used in the temple. There are only 2 other engravings of menorahs ever found in caves. Archaeologists from the Antiquities Authority who came to examine the findings speculate that the menorah was carved by Jewish inhabitants during the time of the Bar Kokhba revolt and the crosses added during the Byzantine period 1,600 years ago. An unmanned flying saucer that could remove wounded soldiers from the battlefield. That's one of the expected uses of an Israeli-developed drone big enough to carry up to 500 kilograms. The UAV has been in development for 15 years by the Yavne-based Urban Aeronautics, which they say hope they can fly, they see as a flying car, and get it into the market by 2020. The recent test flight saw it hovering over the Jezreel Valley and was considered a success despite minor glitches. Developers say the drone could be used as an air ambulance as well as in urban areas or contaminated zones. Its internal rotors make it safer to fly between buildings and beneath power lines, the company says.